I opened the door to my own home and heard my wife laughing, but not the way she laughed with me. This laugh was different, secretive, and it made my blood run cold. Let me back up. My name is Edward, and I thought I knew everything about my marriage. I met Rose when we were both 20, studying at the same university. She was the kind of beautiful that made you forget what you were saying mid-sentence. We got married young, maybe too young according to some people, but I didn't care. I loved her with everything I had. Rose was incredibly close to her mother, Margaret. They talked on the phone for hours every single day. Every weekend, without fail, we spent time with Margaret. At first, I thought it was sweet how close they were. Family is important, right? But Margaret never approved of our marriage. In the beginning, she said we were too young. Then she seemed to accept it, but there was always something underneath, some comment that would dig into my skin. "Edward, have you thought about changing careers?" she'd ask over Sunday dinner. "Something more lucrative?" She'd tell Rose stories about other young men, the son of some businessman, the son of some politician. "Such accomplished young men," she'd say, laughing that particular laugh of hers. "Rose, honey, you really didn't need to rush into anything. There are so many good options out there." I came from a working-class family. I'd been working odd jobs since I was a kid to help pay bills. I wasn't ashamed of where I came from, but Margaret made me feel like I should be. And the worst part, Rose would just laugh along with her mother. She never defended me, never told her mother to stop. I kept hoping she would stand up for me, for us, but it never happened. The situation reached a breaking point at a family gathering about 2 years into our marriage. Margaret actually invited one of these candidates, some trust fund kid named Preston, to the party. She spent the entire evening practically throwing him at Rose, talking about his vacation home in the Hamptons, his new sports car, his father's connections. I stood there holding a beer, watching my mother-in-law play matchmaker with my own wife right in front of me. I swallowed my pride that night. I swallowed a lot of things because I wanted to make it work with Margaret. Rose was her only daughter, and I thought if I could just prove myself, earn more, become the man Margaret thought Rose deserved, everything would be fine. So I started working more. A lot more. I took on extra projects, worked late nights, picked up weekend shifts. I was determined to prove I was worthy of Rose, worthy of being her husband. My paycheck grew, and I thought maybe finally Margaret would see me differently. Rose stayed home during this time. She said Margaret needed help with various things, doctor's appointments, house repairs, shopping. I was essentially supporting 2 households, but I told myself it was temporary. I was building our future. The thing was, Rose didn't seem to miss me when I worked late. She didn't ask me to stay home more. She seemed perfectly content with our arrangement. I'd come home exhausted, and she'd barely look up from her phone. Our 5th wedding anniversary fell on a Tuesday. I had a critical deadline at work that day, a presentation that could make or break a major account. I stayed late, wrapped things up around 9 p.m. Despite being exhausted, I was excited. I stopped at the flower shop just before it closed and bought Rose's favorite roses, white ones with pink edges. Then I rushed to the French restaurant downtown and picked up the chocolate soufflé she loved, the one she always said was too expensive to order. When I got home at 9:30, the apartment was dark and empty. I called Rose. No answer. I texted her. Nothing. I set the flowers in water, put the soufflé in the fridge, and waited. 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Midnight. She walked in at 12:15, laughing into her phone. She jumped when she saw me sitting in the dark living room. "God, Edward, you scared me. What are you doing sitting in the dark?" "Waiting for you," I said. "It's our anniversary." She looked genuinely confused for a moment. "Is it today?" I thought. Wait, is it really the 17th already? She laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was out with the girls and totally lost track of time." I wanted to be angry, but looking at her standing there, I just felt sad. "I got you flowers. And your favorite dessert." "That's sweet, Eddie," she said, kissing my cheek like I was a child who'd drawn her a picture. "I'm exhausted though. Let's celebrate this weekend, okay?" We never did celebrate that weekend. Or any weekend after that. Then came the Riverside project. I'd been working on it for over a year. A massive redevelopment proposal that would completely transform an old industrial area into a mixed-use community. It was the biggest thing I'd ever worked on, and the final presentation was scheduled in Seattle. I'd need to be gone for a week. "Will you be okay?" I asked Rose the night before I left. "It's a whole week." "Of course," she said brightly. "Actually, Mama's going to come stay with me. We'll have a girls' week." It'll be fun. Something in my chest tightened, but I pushed it away. Okay, I'll call you every night. Don't worry about it, she said, waving her hand. You'll be busy. Just focus on your presentation. The presentation in Seattle went better than I could have imagined. The clients loved the proposal, signed the contracts, and told me I could head home 3 days early. I didn't tell Rose. I wanted to surprise her, show up with champagne, and finally celebrate something together, just the two of us. I took an early morning flight and got home on Thursday afternoon instead of Sunday evening. As I put my key in the lock, I could hear voices inside, Rose and Margaret, talking and laughing. I smiled. Maybe I'd take them both out to dinner, try one more time to build a bridge with my mother-in-law. But then I heard what they were saying. So what was wrong with Christopher? Margaret was asking. He seemed perfect. His family owns half the commercial real estate downtown. He was so boring, Mom, Rose replied. I could hear the pout in her voice. Like painfully boring. And he was a terrible kisser. But I'll give him this, the man knows how to buy gifts. That necklace he got me? Cartier. My hand froze on the doorknob. What about Marcus? Margaret continued. Rose giggled. Now Marcus was fun. Very passionate. But God, Mom, his taste is awful. He bought me this dress. I can't even describe how hideous it was. I had to pretend I loved it. Well, I have someone new I want you to meet, Margaret said, and I could hear the excitement in her voice. Daniel Wright. He's about to inherit Wright Industries, the manufacturing company. His father is stepping down next year, and Daniel will take over everything. I've already talked to him, and he's very interested in meeting you. Mom, you're the best, Rose said. When can I meet him? That's when I couldn't stand outside anymore. I shoved the door open so hard it banged against the wall. What the hell is going on here? Both women jumped. Rose's face went white. Margaret's went red. Edward, Rose stammered. You're home early. I thought. What was that conversation? I demanded. My voice was shaking. Christopher? Marcus? Daniel Wright? You're taking this out of context, Rose said quickly. We were just talking about. Don't, I said. Don't lie to me right now. Margaret stood up, her face hardening into that disapproving expression I knew so well. Fine. You want the truth, Edward? You're not good enough for my daughter. You've never been good enough. Your little salary barely covers their shopping trips, let alone the lifestyle Rose deserves. She needs someone who can actually provide for her, not some working-class boy playing dress-up. The words hit me like physical blows. But what hurt more was Rose's face. She wasn't defending me. She wasn't telling her mother to stop. She just looked caught. How long? I asked Rose quietly. How long have you been seeing other men? It's not what you think, she said, but her voice was weak. How long, Rose? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I could see it in her eyes. This had been going on for a while. Maybe since I started working longer hours. Maybe even before that. I turned and walked out. I didn't grab clothes, didn't pack a bag. I just left and checked into a hotel downtown. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing, trying to process what had just happened. My wife had been dating other men. My mother-in-law had been setting her up with potential replacements for me. And apparently, this had been going on under my nose while I worked myself to exhaustion, trying to be worthy of them. The next morning, I called my bank and froze all our joint accounts and credit cards. Then I called a lawyer, James Patterson, who'd done some work for my company. I told him everything. That's rough, man, James said. Real rough. But here's what we're going to do. Over the next week, while staying at the hotel, I methodically documented everything. I went through our credit card statements and found charges I'd never noticed before, expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, hotels booked on nights when Rose said she was at girls' nights, luxury items I'd never seen her wear at home. James was brilliant. He suggested we hire a private investigator, not to catch Rose in the act. We already knew what was happening, but to document the extent of her spending and her activities. Within 2 weeks, we had a comprehensive file. But as I sat in my hotel room, looking at the evidence of my wife's betrayal, I realized something. Divorce was the obvious answer. I'd split our assets, she'd probably get alimony for a while, and we'd both move on. But that felt too simple. Too clean. Margaret and Rose had spent years making me feel small, unworthy, not good enough. They'd used my money while looking for someone better. They'd humiliated me. I wanted them to understand what they'd done. Really understand it. That's when I came up with the plan. It was unconventional, maybe even a little crazy, but the more I thought about it, the more perfect it seemed. I called James. I don't want to file for divorce yet. What? Edward, after everything. I know. But hear me out. I have an idea. I went back home 2 weeks after I'd left. Rose had been blowing up my phone, alternating between apologetic texts and angry ones. Margaret had even called a few times, leaving voicemails that ranged from defensive to hostile. When I walked in, Rose ran to me. Eddie, oh my God, I've been so worried. We need to talk about what happened. It's not what it looked like. I know, I said calmly. I overreacted. I was tired from the trip, stressed about work. I should have let you explain. She blinked, clearly not expecting this. Really? Really? Look, I've been thinking. You're right, I've been working too much. I haven't been present in our marriage. No wonder you've been spending time with other people. You were lonely. Yes, she said, grabbing onto this narrative eagerly. Yes, exactly. I was so lonely, Eddie. You're never here. I'm going to change that, I said. In fact, I've made a decision. I'm going to quit my job and take some time off. Maybe 6 months. We can travel, spend time together, reconnect. Her face fell slightly. Quit your job? But, how will we? I've saved enough, I lied smoothly. We'll be fine. And you know what? I want to get to know your mom better too. I think I've been unfair to Margaret. She just wants the best for you. Let's have her over for dinner this weekend, and I'll apologize for how I've been. Rose looked confused but pleased. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. That Saturday, Margaret came over for dinner. I'd cooked, a skill I'd learned from my mother but had rarely used since marrying Rose. I made Margaret's favorite dishes, poured expensive wine I'd bought just for the occasion, and was the perfect host. Margaret, I said during dessert, I owe you an apology. I've been defensive about your concern for Rose's well-being. But you're her mother. Of course you want the best for her. I want that too. Margaret looked suspicious, but also pleased. Well, Edward, I appreciate you saying that. In fact, I continued, I've been thinking about what you said about my career. You're right. I should aim higher. So I've decided to quit my current job and take some time to figure out what's next. Maybe start my own business. Really go for something bigger. Oh, Margaret said, her eyes lighting up. Well, that's wonderful. Rose, did you hear that? Edward is finally showing some ambition. While I'm doing that, I said, I'll be home more. Rose and I can spend more time together. Maybe we'll travel. Europe, maybe. Or Asia. I've always wanted to see Thailand. That sounds amazing, Rose said, her eyes shining. There's just one thing, I said casually. Since I won't have my income for a while, we'll need to be more careful with spending. Budget a bit more. Cut back on shopping trips and restaurants. You understand. Rose's smile faltered slightly. Well, sure. I mean, we can still do some things, right? Of course, I said. We'll just be more thoughtful about it. That night, after Margaret left and Rose was asleep, I finalized my real plan with James. I did quit my job, but not before negotiating a generous severance package and consulting contract that would pay me well for the next year. However, I had all of that money deposited into a separate account that Rose knew nothing about. As far as she and Margaret knew, I was unemployed. Then I cut off the money. All of it. The joint accounts had minimal amounts in them, enough for basic groceries and utilities, but nothing more. The credit cards I'd frozen stayed frozen. Within a week, Rose was panicking. Edward, there's something wrong with the credit cards. They're all declining. Oh, those, I said absently. I had to cancel them. With me not working, we can't carry that kind of debt. Don't worry, we have the checking account for necessities. But, what about shopping? What about going out? We'll have to take a break from that for now, I said. But we have each other. That's what matters, right? She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Over the next month, I watched Rose and Margaret's true colors emerge more clearly than ever. Rose couldn't go to her expensive nail salon. She couldn't buy new clothes. She couldn't go to trendy restaurants or bars. And suddenly, I was home all the time, eager to spend every moment with her. She hated it. I'm going to meet Mom for lunch, she'd say. Great. I'll come with you, I'd reply cheerfully. I'm meeting the girls for drinks. Perfect. I'll drive you and pick you up. Save on the Uber. I made sure she was never alone. Every time she tried to make plans, I was there, smiling, offering to join or help. At first, she made excuses. Then she got frustrated. Then she got angry. Edward, I need some space, she finally snapped after 2 months of this. Space? But honey, I quit my job so we could spend more time together. Isn't this what you wanted? Meanwhile, Rose's suitors were disappearing. It's hard to date when you can't go anywhere, can't buy new clothes, and your husband is attached to your hip. I made sure to be extra affectionate in public too, holding her hand, kissing her cheek, calling her sweetheart, loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. One evening, about 3 months into my plan, Rose's phone buzzed. I'd been keeping track of her messages. I'd installed monitoring software on our phones as part of my Let's Be More Connected initiative. She'd agreed, thinking it was a trust-building exercise. It was a message from someone named Christopher. "Hey beautiful, I haven't seen you in forever. Everything okay?" Rose quickly deleted it, but I'd already seen it. "Who was that?" I asked innocently. "Nobody. Just spam." "Oh. Hey, you know what we should do? Have a party. Invite all your friends. I'd love to meet everyone important in your life." Her face went pale. "A party? Yeah. It'll be fun. We'll keep it simple, just appetizers and drinks. Nothing expensive. I'll do all the cooking." "I don't think." "I insist," I said, smiling. "It'll be good for us." The party was 2 weeks later. I'd made sure to personally invite everyone on Rose's contact list that I could identify. Christopher came. So did Marcus. And several other men I didn't recognize, but who seemed very uncomfortable when I introduced myself as Rose's husband and thanked them for being such good friends to my wife during the difficult period when I was working too much. Rose spent the entire evening looking like she wanted to die. The men barely spoke to her. Her female friends seemed confused by the whole dynamic. And I played the perfect, doting husband, never leaving her side, constantly touching her arm or shoulder, telling stories about our relationship. "Rose is the love of my life," I announced to the room at one point, raising my glass of cheap wine. "I'm so lucky she chose me. And I promise, from now on, I'm going to cherish every single moment we have together." Everyone applauded awkwardly. Rose looked like she might throw up. After everyone left, she turned on me. "What was that?" "What was what?" "I thought the party was lovely. You embarrassed me." "How did I embarrass you?" "I told everyone how much I love you." "That's not, you know what you did." "I'm afraid I don't. But I'm tired. Let's talk about this tomorrow." The next morning, Rose sat me down at the kitchen table. Her face was set in determined lines. "Edward, we need to talk about our marriage." "Of course, honey. What's on your mind?" I think we need some time apart." "Time apart?" I let my face fall. "Why would we need that?" "I thought things were going well." "They're not. You're suffocating me. You're always here, always watching. I can't breathe. I'm here because I love you and want to spend time with you. Isn't that what marriage is about?" "Not like this. This isn't normal." "What would be normal, Rose? Me working all the time while you, what? Go shopping? Go to lunches? See your friends?" I let the emphasis on friends be clear. She flushed red. "I think we should separate." "If that's what you want," I said quietly. "But you should know, if we separate, you'll need to support yourself. I'm not working, remember? So there won't be any money coming from me." Her face went through several emotions: anger, fear, realization. "You can't do that." "Can't do what?" "Not give you money I don't have." "Rose, I quit my job to save our marriage. To be the husband you needed. And now you want to leave me?" This isn't." "Tell you what," I said. "Let's talk to your mother about this. Maybe she has some advice." Rose called Margaret immediately. Her mother came over within the hour, looking ready for battle. "Edward, you cannot hold Rose hostage in this marriage," Margaret said as soon as she walked in. "Hostage? Margaret, I love your daughter. I've reorganized my entire life around her. You've manipulated her. You've isolated her. I've been present. Something you told me I needed to be. That's not what I meant." "What did you mean, Margaret? What exactly did you want from me?" "More money." "Fine, I tried that. Worked myself to death. And what happened? You set Rose up with other men. You told her she could do better. You spent my money while looking for my replacement." The room went silent. "So I gave you what you said you wanted," I continued. "A husband who's home, who's present, who prioritizes his wife above everything else. And suddenly that's wrong too. It seems like nothing I do will ever be good enough for you." Margaret opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time since I'd known her, she seemed at a loss for words. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, my voice level. "Rose, if you want a divorce, I'll give you one. But you should know that I have evidence of your affairs. Multiple affairs. I have credit card statements showing expensive dinners and hotels. I have text messages. I have witness statements. If we divorce, I'll make sure the reason is very, very clear. Rose's face drained of color. You've been spying on me? I've been paying attention, I corrected. Something I should have done long ago. You can't use that in court, Margaret said, but her voice lacked conviction. Actually, I can. My lawyer assures me it's all perfectly legal. And here's the interesting part. Given the evidence of infidelity, Rose won't be getting much in the divorce. Maybe nothing at all, depending on the judge. That's not fair, Rose said. Fair? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair to take my money while you dated other men? Was it fair to forget our anniversary while you were out with Christopher? Was it fair that your mother invited Preston to a family party to hit on you right in front of me? Rose started crying. Margaret looked furious, but also frightened. They were finally understanding the corner they were in. But here's what I'm going to do, I said. I'm going to be generous. Rose, I'll give you a choice. We can stay married, and I'll go back to work. Things will go back to how they were, me working, you spending. But your mother is cut off completely. No more joint shopping trips, no more family vacations on my dime, no more weekly dinners. You see her once a month, supervised by me. And you sign a post-nuptial agreement that if you cheat again, you get nothing. Or, Rose whispered, or we divorce. Now. And I make sure everyone knows exactly why. Your friends, your family, everyone. You get nothing from our marriage based on the infidelity evidence, and you figure out your life on your own. Rose looked at her mother. Margaret's face went through shock, anger, and then something like panic. I could see them trying to figure out an angle, a way out of this. But there wasn't one. I'd planned too well. I need time to think, Rose finally said. You have 24 hours, I replied. After that, I file the paperwork and you get nothing. Margaret tried to speak, but I held up my hand. Margaret, this doesn't concern you anymore. This is between me and my wife. You can't ask her to choose between you and her mother. Margaret sputtered. I can, and I am. Rose made her choice when she cheated on me with men you introduced her to. Now she gets to make another choice. Rose didn't take 24 hours. She took 18. 18 hours of what I imagine were desperate phone calls with her mother, of crying, of trying to figure out if any of her former suitors would rescue her. But Christopher wasn't interested in a woman with no money and a vengeful husband. Marcus had already moved on to someone else. And Daniel Wright had apparently gotten engaged to someone else the month before. When Rose finally came to me, her eyes were red from crying. I'll sign the agreement, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll stop seeing my mother. Completely? No contact at all. She swallowed hard. Yes. No contact. Good choice, I said. I had my lawyer draw up the post-nuptial agreement. It was ironclad. Any evidence of infidelity or contact with Margaret would result in Rose receiving nothing in a divorce. She signed it with shaking hands. I went back to my consulting work. Money flowed back into our account. Life resumed a strange kind of normalcy. For 6 days. On the 7th day, I came home from a client meeting to find Rose pacing the living room like a caged animal. Her phone was in her hand, and she was staring at it with an expression of pure desperation. Rose? Everything okay? She jumped, nearly dropping the phone. Fine. Everything's fine. But it wasn't fine. Over the next few hours, she became increasingly agitated. She kept picking up her phone, then putting it down. She'd start to say something, then stop. She barely touched her dinner. Finally, around 9 p.m., she exploded. I can't do this anymore, she screamed, hurling her phone across the room. It hit the wall and cracked. Can't do what? This life. Without my mom. Do you understand what you're asking me to do? She's my mother, Edward. My mother. She's also the woman who spent years trying to break up our marriage, I said calmly. The woman who set you up with other men while you were married to me. She was just trying to help me. She wanted me to be happy. By cheating on your husband? You don't understand. You've never understood. My mom and I were close. We've always been close. I talked to her every day. Every single day. And now I'm supposed to just cut her out of my life completely? Like she's nothing? You cheated on me with multiple men, I said, my voice getting harder. You forgot our anniversary. You spent my money while looking for someone better. And your mother helped you do all of it. So yes, she's cut out. That was the deal. The deal is impossible. Rose was crying now, mascara running down her face. I tried, Edward. I really tried. But I can't stop thinking about her. I need to talk to her. I need to see her. She's probably so worried about me. She's probably wondering why I haven't called. What if something's wrong? What if she needs me? She'll be fine. She managed before you were born, she'll manage now. How can you be so cold? How can you ask me to choose between you and my mother? I'm not asking you to choose, Rose. You already chose. You chose her over me every single day of our marriage. When she insulted me, you stayed silent. When she set you up with other men, you went along with it. When she spent my money, you helped her. You made your choice a long time ago. Rose stared at me, her chest heaving. I hate you. No, you don't. You hate that I'm finally holding you accountable. I can't do this, she said again, but quieter this time. I can't live without my mom. I thought I could, but I can't. She's the most important person in my life. And there it was. The truth I'd known all along, but had somehow hoped wasn't true. More important than your husband? I asked. She didn't answer, but she didn't need to. The silence said everything. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw her clearly for the first time. She wasn't the girl I'd fallen in love with in college. Maybe she never had been. She was a woman who'd never grown up, never separated from her mother, never become her own person. She was shallow, dependent, and empty. Without Margaret telling her what to think, what to want, who to be, Rose had nothing. She was a shell. You know what, Rose? You're right. This is impossible. Not because I'm being unreasonable, but because you're incapable of being a real partner to anyone. You're still a child playing dress-up in an adult's life. Her face flushed with anger. How dare you? I dare because it's true. Look at you. 1 week without your mother and you're falling apart. Do you have any idea how pathetic that is? You're a grown woman who can't function without mommy's daily phone calls. You have no identity outside of what she's created for you. No interests, no goals, nothing. That's not true, isn't it? Name one thing you're passionate about that your mother didn't choose for you. One hobby, one dream, one thought that's completely your own. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. Nothing came out. That's what I thought, I said quietly. You're empty, Rose. And I was a fool for not seeing it sooner. Fine, she shouted. Fine. Let's get divorced then. I want a divorce. Okay, I said simply. I'll call my lawyer in the morning. She blinked, clearly expecting me to fight or argue. Okay, that's it. Just okay. What else is there to say? You've made it clear where your priorities are. And honestly, Rose, I'm tired. I'm tired of competing with your mother. I'm tired of not being enough. I'm tired of this entire situation. You'll still have to give me half of everything, she said, and there was something ugly in her voice now. That's how divorce works. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Actually, no. Remember that post-nuptial agreement you signed 6 days ago? The one that says if you have any contact with your mother before we've rebuilt our marriage, you get nothing. But I don't. Oh, her face went white. That's not, you can't. I can and I will. My lawyer made sure that agreement was airtight. You get nothing. Well, not nothing. You'll get whatever the court decides is the absolute minimum, which given your infidelity and the signed agreement, won't be much. You planned this, she whispered. This whole thing. You knew I couldn't stay away from my mom. You set me up. I gave you a choice, Rose. You made it. Not my fault you chose wrong. I'll fight this. My mom will help me get a lawyer. With what money? Margaret lives off her daughter's husband's income. Without me, she is nothing. And neither do you. The reality of the situation finally hit her. I could see it in her eyes, the panic, the realization that she'd just lost everything. The comfortable life, the shopping trips, the nice apartment, the financial security. All gone. Edward, please, she said, and now she was really crying. Please. We can work this out. I'll try harder. I promise I'll. No, I said firmly. We're done. We've been done for a long time. I just needed you to see it too. You're cruel. You're punishing me. I'm setting us both free. You can go back to your mother now. Live with her, let her take care of you, spend all your time together. Isn't that what you really want? She didn't answer. She just stood there crying. I slept in the guest room that night. In the morning, Rose was gone. She'd packed a bag and left at some point while I was asleep. Her wedding ring was on the kitchen counter. The divorce took 4 months. Rose tried to fight the post-nuptial agreement, but it held up in court. The judge wasn't sympathetic to a woman who'd cheated on her husband and then couldn't honor an agreement she'd voluntarily signed. She walked away with a small settlement, enough for maybe 3 months of rent and expenses. Nothing more. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd moved back in with Margaret. They were living together in Margaret's small house, scraping by on Margaret's limited income. The shopping trips and expensive lunches were over. Margaret had to get a part-time job at a department store to make ends meet. Rose was working as a receptionist somewhere, apparently miserable. As for me, I was different. The marriage, the betrayal, the revenge, it had all changed me. But not in a bad way. I'd learned to value myself. I'd learned that love without respect is worthless. I'd learned that some people will take and take and take until you have nothing left, and the only solution is to stop giving. I was finally free. Free from trying to be enough for someone who would never be satisfied. Free from a toxic relationship disguised as family bonds. Free from the exhausting cycle of proving my worth to people who would never see it. I'd entered that marriage as a young man desperate to be accepted. I left it as someone who'd learned the most important lesson of all. The only acceptance that truly matters is your own. Thank you for watching the video to the end. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. A playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to is now displayed on the screen. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.